The review embargo drops just 2 days before the film's release. Normally that can only mean two things. Either we are dealing with endgame-like revelations in the story, or the movie is really subpar. But you know what? It's neither. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and Aladdin might be this year's biggest surprise for me. Neither the first teaser nor the first real trailer that had the reveal of the blue Will Smith CGI hybrid genie in it really excited me or gave me that much hope. The promotional material has been surrounded by a lot of skepticism, and that the review embargo only drops 2 days prior to release isn't a sign of confidence. After the big box office and also critical failure of Guy Ritchie's last film King Arthur Legend of the Sword, there were even some discussions and speculations if Disney would or should replace him as the director. I personally enjoyed Ritchie's King Arthur quite a bit. It wasn't a great film by any means, and one could even call it a mess, but for me it was a very fun and highly energetic mess. Now with Aladdin, I have to say that I wholeheartedly stand behind the film, and that Guy Ritchie's real-life adaptation of Disney's beloved 1992 animated classic is one of the most fun times you can have at the theater. I would describe this film as Disney magic meets Bollywood musical extravaganza meets Guy Ritchie flavor. All of it combined amounts to one of the very best entries in Disney's line of live-action reimaginations. And you know that those have always been very hit and miss for me. When it comes to the sheer quantity, 2019 will have the biggest output with 5 movies. We already got Dumbo, which I'm not a fan of. Now Aladdin, then of course The Lion King in July, the sequel to Maleficent, Mistress of Evil in October, and last but not least, Lady and the Tramp, which will debut on Disney's new streaming service in November. Of course we have all high hopes for Jon Favreau's The Lion King, but let me tell you that Guy Ritchie really nails it with Aladdin, because he totally got what the original film and its story were all about. At its heart, it has always been a romance, a comedic musical romance with fantasy and adventure elements. And it is this fun and exciting mixture that they brought back to life with the new version. The screenplay was written by John August and Guy Ritchie himself, and it sticks to very classical storytelling in the best sense. First of all, they have a pretty fantastic original movie to work with. The story beats and the characters are very true to the animated movie, and where they decided to add something new, it actually works pretty well in my opinion. But let's start from the beginning again. There's a very short prologue that wasn't all that necessary, but it's also not the worst way to begin your film with. And what a beautiful beginning it is. We get a new version of the song Arabian Nights while we fly in one long continuous take through the streets of Agrabah. At the same time the opening credits are popping up on screen, and you know that's always a plus for me. In comparison, there are so many elements that didn't work for me at all with Tim Burton's Dumbo, and here Guy Ritchie is almost nailing all of them. Where Dumbo looked kind of off and just very artificial in a sterile way, Aladdin really succeeds in bringing the world we know from the animated movie to full fruition. Now the film is also very artificial and stylized, but it's a very different kind. To my very happy surprise, this is a full-fledged musical from beginning to end, and in that vein it has that certain kind of artificial nature ingrained in it. It's larger than life, it's theatrical, it's magical. And I also couldn't believe how real Agrabah and all its sites felt. Not as if this is a real city or even a real period city, but more like the Disney or Disneyland version of it. And that approach fits the tone of the movie perfectly. Nowadays there's always a lot of talk about nostalgia, and of course those live-action remakes want to play with that feeling. But I honestly think this film is so well crafted and full of heart that it is more than just a rehash of the original. The script and the direction are sharp and witty, and the comedic timing is excellent. And another super positive surprise was the cast. I didn't think anyone stood out in the trailers, but once you follow the ensemble for full scenes, it's a whole new story. or a whole new world. The Egyptian-Canadian actor Mena Massoud portrays Aladdin, a diamond in the rough, a poverty-stricken but also well-meaning thief who has all the street smarts as well as all the charm. Massoud finds the right amount of every notion and he has a genuine likability to him. But to make a good romance you need two people and you need chemistry. And thankfully Naomi Scott, an Anglo-Indian actress who I only knew from her role in Power Rangers, is the perfect counterpart. Her Jasmine is sweet and strong and the way she plays with him as well as he's playing with her, it's simply a great combination. Now you throw in Aladdin's little monkey pal Abu, who is just as cute as you imagine, Jasmine's roaring tiger Raja, and just a really nice pacing and great set pieces, and what can I say, you are set for a great time. And again, the movie has all the great songs of the original to its advantage. And they came up with a lot of really impressive choreography as well. Jumping through the streets and above the rooftops with Aladdin and Jasmine to the tunes of One Jump Ahead made me feel like a child in the cinema. This is also where Guy Ritchie's flair for action comes in handy. The film has that certain kinetic energy to it, and like I said, the surroundings in which the story and the action unfolds feel real. Unlike Dumbo, where everything seems to come out of a computer, in Aladdin you can not only sense but actually see real sets in front of your eyes. All in this wonderful, heightened musical kind of way. I was enjoying myself so much in that first act of the film that I wasn't even thinking that probably the main attraction of it all was yet to come. The main attraction and at the same time the element with the biggest potential to sunk the whole film, the genie. Robin Williams had made that role iconic and the first look we got of Will Smith's version wasn't flattering. But thankfully the CGI of the final film is a lot better. And yes, it is kind of distracting when you see him for the first time emerging from that magical lamp, but the feeling that this looks a little bit weird is actually not really taking you out of the film, because it is a feeling that's shared by our protagonist Aladdin. Of course it's not exactly the same, he certainly doesn't think about CGI, but he too is baffled by what's happening at that moment and he's adjusting to what he sees, and so are we. And you know what? Will Smith does a really good job here. He makes the role his own. It's similar and yet different enough and good on its own terms that I wasn't comparing it much longer with the original, because it was just working for this new film. Of course it also helps that the Friend Like Me sequence is just as thrilling as ever. Definitely one of the many highlights. There was also the danger that Guy Ritchie, who is known for playing it a bit too cool at times, combined with Will Smith, who can also be quite full of himself in many roles, would make an exhausting pairing. But Will Smith brings the vulnerability, the kindness, the growing friendship, as well as the humor. And yes, Aladdin is a really funny film, and it had me, as well as the audience I saw it with, laughing out loud at many occasions. Easily one of the funniest scenes this year is the moment when Aladdin, now transformed to Prince Ali, is showing up at the palace and tries to literally buy Jasmine. The comedic timing, the acting, the reactions, it's pure gold. And it's another testament that truly shows that Guy Ritchie understood the character and also that Massoud is doing more than just play him as a cool charming thief. It's this extreme juxtaposition of Aladdin the thief and Prince Ali that's so funny and also heartfelt. Once Aladdin leaves the world he's familiar with and pretends to be someone else, he's losing all his confidence, which is great for the story and his arc, as well as the comedic side of things. And speaking about the comedy some more, Billy Magnussen has a small role as Prince Anders. I don't remember the exact country he's from, but something Scandinavian I think. He's the best bumbling idiot who doesn't even realize he's a bumbling idiot, and it's really funny because it plays perfectly with the charming Disney prince image. Another character whose every line is perfectly timed is Iago, the pet parrot of the villain Jafar. In the original he was voiced by none other than Gilbert Gottfried. A voice like that of Gilbert Gottfried would have very likely been too much for this version. What they did is toning it down very significantly, making it more like an actual real parrot. So while the old Iago was this constantly talking nuisance, the new one only says very few words, but those words are timed so perfectly and totally fitting the character of this through and through evil companion. He's now voiced by Alan Tudyk and it's a great performance. Jafar himself is played by the Dutch-Tunisian actor Marwan Kenzari, and I wouldn't call him a weak link of the film, but he's not as menacing as I hoped him to be. His voice is not that deep, but at least he has enough of a character that he's still working. There's also a little change to his background story. I don't remember if he even had that much of a background story in the original, but here he reveals to Aladdin that he once was very much like him, a thief. I think this actually slightly enhances the dynamic between him and Aladdin. They both started at similar places, but through their decisions they turn up at different endings. A bigger change to the original is the addition of the character Dahlia, played by the Iranian-American actress Nazim Pedrat. Dahlia is Jasmine's handmaiden, and she's your typical rom-com best friend character, but in the best way possible. Not only is she really charming and adds a lot of humor, but they also use her as another person the genie is able to connect with. This isn't taking away from the film's story, but instead enhances the banter between Genie and Aladdin and gives him even more character. But I think the biggest change comes with Jasmine and the way she's becoming the person she wants to be, against all odds from the society she's living in. The film feels quite empowering, and to compare it one more time to Dumbo, it's handled way better here. In the new Dumbo we get this young girl who wants to be a scientist, but she's not doing anything scientific and it felt really forced. In Aladdin, the criticism Jasmine is addressing makes sense and makes the film as a whole better, I think. There's also a new song added that is very much in that Frozen Let It Go powerhouse realm. Very emotional, very direct. I think it sticks out, but I also think that's more because all the other songs are so familiar and this one isn't yet. It is playing at a crucial scene in the finale and the whole scene is done in one long continuous shot. Again, the cinematography and the editing are really good, and Guy Ritchie brings that certain extra to it as well. There are some moments sprinkled in, for example, when Aladdin is kicked out of a window tied to a chair, or when the genie is rewinding the movie for a second to see if Aladdin actually made a wish. That felt very Guy Ritchie to me, and I thought it fit extremely well. An element that could have been handled better is the short time period in which Aladdin is turning a little bit bad for a second. Not sure if he really should keep his promise to the genie or just use the third wish for himself. Of course it is the self-doubt talking, but it doesn't feel that justified and it comes and also goes away rather abrupt. Also, as much as I love the visual style of the film, not all effects and set pieces can bring the same level of quality. But all in all, I'm really quite happy with the film. And so in German I'd say, Aladdin ist eine wirklich witzige romantische Komödie, ein mitreißendes Musical und ein leichtfüßiger, toll gefilmter Fantasy-Action-Film. Dass das alles so gut funktioniert, hat er dem guten Drehbuch, der energievollen Regie und Inszenierung von Guy Ritchie und nicht zuletzt seinem spritzigen, hervorragend aufgelegtem Cast zu verdanken. I give Aladdin 8 out of 10. It's more like 8.1, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Aladdin. And also let me know what is your favorite film by Guy Ritchie. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.